What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It's HorrorFan34, and welcome to another video. And I figured I'd do a random movie review for you guys. Make sure I have nothing on my shirt, but like I said, I figured I'd do a random movie review for you guys. I know it's been a week since I did a video. Just been taking a break because I did the horror challenge, and that was a lot of reviews and things like that. So I was taking a little breather. But I figured I'd do a review for you guys out of the blue. I watched this film twice over the past few days, and I tell you, I haven't seen this film in quite a while. And then I figured, you know what, I want to sit down and watch this again. And I realized, like, man, I forgot how good this movie is. And I know I reviewed this film before in the past, but, you know, I'm fine with re-reviewing a movie again. I'll still keep that old review up, but I'll review this film like 5 times if I have to. It's easily become one of my all-time favorite films ever. I mean, I think it's pretty well done for a made-for-TV movie. And I know I recommended this to Rob and Julie. I know Julie's getting her copy very soon. So I can't wait to hear her thoughts on it. I know Rob will be getting his soon. Can't wait to hear his thoughts on it. But if you can tell by the title of the video, it's going to be on this, Survive the Night. Now, Survive the Night was a film that was made for cable back in 1993, back on the USA Network, in January of 93. And now the story, I mean, even look at it says here on the back. I don't know if you can see that, but a femme version of Judgment Night. So basically, it's the female version of Judgment Night. And have you ever seen Judgment Night? That's my favorite movie ever, with Emilio Estevez and Dennis Leary. This is pretty much the female version of that. And I think it's great. I think it's a really well done TV film. And, I mean, it's pretty much the same idea as Judgment Night, but not exactly the same. And I'll get what I mean by that in a second. But the basic idea is that you have these 3 women. You have a mom and a daughter, the mom played by Stephanie Powers from Heart to Heart, the TV show back in the 70s, and a lot of other stuff. And her daughter is Kathleen Robertson, who's here on the cover, from Scary Movie 2, Beverly Hills 90210. She went on to be on shows like Boss, Murder in the First, on TNT with Taye Diggs, and she's been in a lot of other stuff too. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she's been in. She was in, I think, in the Borkowski tapes, that found footage horror film. I forgot. I think she was an investigator in that, I believe, but. She plays the daughter, and the mom's sister, who's also the daughter's, her aunt, played by Helen Shaver from Land Before Time. She was, of course, Littlefoot's mom. Tremors 2, a lot of other, the original Amityville Horror, a lot of other stuff. And they're basically, they're on their way home from Brooklyn from having Thanksgiving dinner at her relative's house, and one thing leads to another. They're running out of gas. They got to get off the expressway, and the turn they take is into this dangerous neighborhood called Gravesend, which even the police refuse to go into because it's a really bad area. They find the gas station there, but it's closed and all messed up, and a street gang surrounds them. They're on a street gang's turf, and you have their leader, character of Ice, played by Curry Graham. Now that's a guy who's played like a lot of supporting roles in a lot of films, whether it be like in the Total Recall remake or I think Pompeii. He had a supporting role in that. I know he was on I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think he was on. I think he had a supporting role on that. He's been on like a lot of TV shows and things like that. If you see his face, you'll know who he is. This was the first thing he ever did, but he's really mad that these women are on his turf, and they begin to mess with the women. and because they ran out of gas, and they manage to start the car, and they back up into one of the bikes. The daughter's driving the car. They back up into one of the gang's bikes, and the leader, Ice, feels provoked by this, and he decides to, hey, let's hunt them down. And then they eventually do end up running out of gas. Eventually, they find a payphone, doesn't work, and Ice and some of the gang members find them, and then they get chased on foot throughout the rest of the night, and then hence the title, Survive the Night. So they got to go from point A to point B, trying to outrun them and try to defend themselves, things like that. And that's pretty much the main premise of the film. Also, too, in the film, you have a couple of other subplots. You have this one little side story where you have this guy who gets a job at the police station, and there's a little thing where him and his partner are trying to look for the women, so you have a little bit of a story with that. And you have another little subplot that kind of ties into the main story where you have this younger kid who lives in sort of the projects area near where the gang hangs out at in the South Bronx. The character of TJ, who has a little brother and a sister. His mom's sick, and he decides to, he's friends with one of the guys in the gang, and he gets recruited into the gang. And then toward the end, he decides to help the women out because he's afraid and kind of doesn't want to be in the gang, but he kind of sees it as a way out, but he knows it's a dead end, things like that. But what really makes this film work is the cast. First off, I really like the cast. Stephanie Powers and Kathleen Robertson do a good job as the mom and the daughter. Helen Shaver does a great job as the aunt. Curry Graham, in my opinion, as the lead gang member, is without a doubt, I think, the main star of the film. He was ruthless. He was creepy. And I tell you, he's got some really good lines of dialogue. There's a point in the movie where TJ is getting recruited into the gang by his buddy. His buddy is actually Larry Gilliard Jr. That's a guy who went on to be in The Walking Dead as Bob. He was in The Waterboy as one of the team members on The Waterboy. He was in Gangs in New York, and he's been in a lot of other stuff. I think he worked on a show, too, with Patrick Swayze. But there's a point in the film where Larry Gilliard Jr.'s character tells Ice about recruiting TJ into the gang, and there's a conversation between TJ and Ice, and there's a point where TJ's kind of, like, he's asking, like, are you TJ? And TJ's kind of looking down. He's like, yeah. He's not even looking at him. And then Ice just has, like, this cold demeanor to him, and he just says to him, you look at me when I'm talking to you. It just says it really cold and things like that. So this is definitely a guy that you don't want to mess with. I mean, he gives these great death stares, like when Larry Gilliard Jr.'s character's talking back to Ice, and Ice is screaming at him and things like that. And then he gives him these death stares and death looks at him, and so you can tell Ice means business. He tells you exactly what he wants to do. If you don't follow his orders, you'll get killed. So this is like the kind of lead gang member you're dealing with. He's ruthless, he's vicious, he's creepy, he's terrifying. And it's got some it's a great thrill ride. Like, once it starts up, it never stops. Like, there's a point where the women first run into this abandoned, like, garage-looking building. Then there's a point in the film where they go into this building and they're trying to turn off all the lights in this room, and the character of Julie, the daughter, finds a dead body in a refrigerator and screams, and it grabs the attention of TJ and Ice's brother, played by Simon Reynolds, as the guy who I've seen. If you know Simon Reynolds, if you remember the horror film P2 with Rachel Nichols and Wes Bentley, about the girl trapped in the parking garage on Christmas by a creepy security guard. If you remember the part in the film where the guy's tied up to the chair with duct tape all over him, and he gets run over by Wes Bentley, the guy that's tied up in the chair, that's Simon Reynolds. That's the lead gang member's brother. And they're running. They have a really great camera shot where, like, all these set of stairs, and the camera pans down to where they're at, and they kick open the door and they're running after the women. And they get to a point where I think Judgment Night kind of got an inspiration from this, where they're walking across this plank from rooftop to rooftop, things like that. It's a really good scene. there's a scene that happens in the subway train station, and of course the whole finale sort of takes place in sort of like this like, I don't know if it's like an abandoned like restaurant or something like that, but it's like one of those things where it's like a bar restaurant sort of like looking thing. That's where the finale takes place at. You do get some nice bits of gore in the film, some nice bloody moments. It's got, I tell you, it's a really great thrill ride. It's like once the women have to flee on foot, it doesn't stop. You have a really great musical score by Fred Mullen. Is the same guy that did the score for Friday the 13th Part 7 and 8, but I think this is his best musical score, in my opinion. I really like his musical score in this. I think it's directed very well, is pretty decently for a TV film. I think the whole finale is great when they're setting up traps for the gang and things like that. I'm not going to ruin it, but things like that and how it all ends up wrapping up and things like that. Like I said, like the three women do a really good job. I think Curry Graham as the lead villain, he seals the show. He's great. Some of the gang members in the film, one of them is one of the guys who's one of the gang members, along with the guy from the Saw and P2 and the guy from the Waterboy. You have another gang member. He had a small role. I hate when this freaking camera freezes on me. It pisses me off. But what I was trying to say is, one of the gang members in the film had a small role in The Long Kiss Goodnight, the alley guy who points a gun at Gina Davis. And he says, this is a heavy gun. And then Sam Jackson says to him, this ain't no ham on rye, boy. That's one of the gang members in this as well. So you have quite a few familiar faces in the film. And I don't want to spoil too much more about this film. But I know there's a website that you can order this from, I think called TrueMoviesTV.com, where it's the best you're going to get this film, because this film is out of print on Amazon. And I know it goes for a lot of money, but if you go on TrueTV.movies or something like that, then you can get this for like $16. That's the best price you're going to find for this movie, because this thing is really, really out of print on Amazon. I would recommend you giving your hands on this. If you're a big fan of Judgment Night, and if you want to see a kind of like a female version of that, I would highly recommend you check this out. I think it's great. So that's pretty much it for my review for Survive the Night. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.